To have you back. It is still African news right here on Voice of the People Television. My name is David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending stories. We begin the African news from Ghana, where Ghana has temporarily closed its embassy in Washington, D.C. following a corruption and abuse scandal with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Ablakwa, stating that drastic measures were being taken following the scandal. Ablakwa said the move was regrettable but necessary, disclosing that one Fred Kwateng, a local recruited IT staff member employed in August 2017, had admitted to creating an unauthorized link to the embassy's website to charge unapproved fees. According to him, the link redirects visa and passport applicants to his private firm, where fees of up to $60 were charged. He further explained that Kwateng's illegal extra charges, which were not approved by the Ministry and Parliament as required under the Fees and Charges Act, range from $29.75 to $60 per applicant. The minister further stated that investigations revealed that he and his collaborators operated the illegal scheme for at least 5 years, adding that the case has been referred to the Attorney General of Public Prosecution. In the meantime, Ablakwa said that Foreign Ministry staff at the Washington, D.C. mission have been recalled to Accra, while the embassy's IT department has been dissolved and all locally recruited staff suspended. The Auditor General has also been tasked with conducting a full forensic audit to determine the total financial loss of the state, according to the statement. And from Ghana, we move straight to Uganda, where the Ugandan People's Defense Forces says it has suspended all its ongoing military and defense activities with Germany over alleged subversive activities in the country by the current German ambassador to Uganda, Matthias Schorr. In a statement on X, UPDF spokesperson Chris Mageze said the military has suspended with immediate effect all ongoing defense and military cooperation activities with Germany. The statement noted that the decision was in response to credible intelligence reports that Schorr is actively engaged in subversive activities in the country, though he did not give details of those activities or of any existing military cooperation with Germany. Uganda has its troop in the African Union Peacekeeping Force in Somalia, which is partly funded by the European Union, of which Germany is a member. In a post on X, Uganda's military chief, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, said the military was having problems with Schorr as a person. Kainerugaba said it has to do with Schorr as a person. It has nothing to do with Schorr as a person, adding that he is wholly unqualified to be in Uganda and has nothing to do with the great German people. The United States Bureau of African Affairs has called for an immediate and thorough investigation into the alleged human rights abuses against activists Boniface Mwangi and Agatha Atuhaire in Tanzania. Expressing serious concerns over reports of the mistreatment, it further called for those responsible to be held accountable. This comes days after Senior Counsel Martha Karua wrote to regional organizations demanding action against President Samia Suluhu administration. Mwangi and Agatha were held in Tanzania, where they had gone to witness a prominent court case involving opposition leader Tundu Lissu. Shortly after arriving in Tanzania on May the 19th, Mwangi was detained in isolation without access to legal counsel, court proceedings, or consular assistance, despite earlier fears for his safety. Following days of public outcry, however, he was deported by road to Kenya and left in Ukunda. Appearing weak, Mwangi's family took him to Nairobi for a medical evaluation. The activist leader described his detention as a dark period, saying he and Agatha, who were held together before being separated, endured terrible treatment. In another development, the South African National Defense Force has refuted claims that the returning troops from the Democratic Republic of Congo have surrendered their weapons while passing through Rwanda. The National Defense Force accused the journalist who wrote the article of not verifying the information that was published. According to SANDF spokesperson Prince Shabalala, all transit operations through partner countries are conducted within the agreement and protocol establishments between SADC and countries involved. The article is not factual but sensationalist, and it appears to be aimed at creating panic and discrediting all involved, he stated. Shabalala added that the publication is viewed as irresponsible reporting with a potential to compromise the safety of the troops and carefully coordinated withdrawal process. Meanwhile, a suspect is expected to make his first court appearance today following his arrest for threatening President Cyril Ramaphosa. Cape Town Mayor Gordon Hill Lewis and a prominent local businesswoman. The 28-year-old was arrested in Germiston, east of Johannesburg, last Friday after a case was opened against him earlier in May. The suspect is alleged to have sent multiple threatening messages targeting the head of state, the Cape Town mayor, the businesswoman, and her family. According to Hawks spokesperson Thandi Mbambo, the suspect, whose identity has been concealed until his first court appearance, was transported from Gauteng to the Western Cape, where he will appear. Mbambo said the matter was reported to the Cape Town-based Hawks CAT team, which conducted a swift investigation resulting in the suspect's apprehension in Gauteng. He added that the suspect will face a charge of intimidation. In a separate case, Mbambo said a KwaZulu-Natal man has been handed a 5-year jail term for circulating pornographic images that he had altered to include the faces of Ramaphosa, former police minister Mbeki Seleh, and his wife, Thembeka Nkobo. Moving on, the African Development Bank will meet in Cote d'Ivoire this week to pick a new president as the continent's biggest multilateral lender faces unprecedented challenges from funding cuts by the U.S. states. The new president will have to try to persuade the U.S. to reinstate the funding, seek additional funds from non-regional members of the bank like China or Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia or the United Arab Emirates. The U.S. government wants to cut $555 million in funding to the AFDB and its African Development Fund, which offers low-price financing to the continent's poor nations. According to Hannah Ryder, founder of Development Reimagined, Development Reimagined, an African-focused consultancy, this is going to be a major tax, and it is effectively the new president's first test. The annual gathering of heads of states and finance officials taking place this year in the Ivorian city of Abidjan is one of the biggest finance meetings on the continent. Africa's largest development finance institution is owned by 54 African states and G7 nations like the US and Japan, with Nigeria its biggest shareholder. The next round of replenishment for the ADF window, which is held on a 3-year cycle, is scheduled to take place in November this year. Moving on, officials from the Democratic Republic of Congo hope to reach a deal with Washington next month to secure United States investment in critical minerals, as well as support to end Rwandan-backed rebellion in the country's east. According to reports, minerals such as tungsten, tantalum, and tin, which Kinshasa has long accused neighboring Rwanda of illegally exporting, could be exported legitimately to Rwanda for processing under the terms of a peace deal being negotiated by the U.S. Sources close to the negotiations said an investment deal with the U.S. and separate peace deal with Rwanda were possible by the end of June, barring potential stumbling blocks. According to Congo's Mines Minister, Kizito Rakapomba, an agreement with the U.S. would help diversify both countries' partnership, thereby reducing the African nation's dependence on China and the exploitation of its vast mineral richness. Kinshasa views the plundering of its mineral wealth as a key driver of the conflicts between its forces and the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels in eastern Congo, which has intensified since January. It accuses Kigali of smuggling tens of millions of dollars worth of minerals over the border, which each month to be sold from Rwanda. Well, joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Barrister Darlington Agumo, who is a legal practitioner and Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst. Barrister, a very, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, David. How are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you, Barrister. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Well, Barrister, let's get to it almost immediately. The peace deal between Rwanda and the DR Congo is on the table presently. And also the mineral for security deal between the U.S. and the DR Congo is also on the table. Now, let's x-ray these two agreements. On the path of DR Congo, do you think this, at this point, is going to help them not only economically, but also restore relative peace in that country?
It will not.
Why do you say so, Barrister?
It's a matter of time. The peace for mineral resources deal will collapse because one partner is shortchanging the other. By the time the chips are down, Congo will be the loser. DR Congo will be the loser.
How, Barrister?
Their resources are being plundered. And there's no guarantee that another rebel group will not spring up tomorrow. If you do all this thing with the M23 rebels, how about future rebels that will spring up? You will not enter into another deal with them, Abi? My dear, that country needs to look inwards. Since they had independence, that country has never had governance. They have never had peace, all because of their mineral resources. So how long will they continue to fritter away the resources that would have enabled them to grow and develop? How long? This is a criminal agreement. Criminal.
When you say criminal, Barrister, on whose part are you referring to?
Well, that of Rwanda and the U.S. Seriously. I don't know what is the problem for Kagame in that country. Imagine an African country being subjected to this type of humiliation in the name of peace. If DR Congo had a strong army that would deal with these people, will this type of deal be entered into? Go and check how much they are going to lose in this deal. It's not commensurate with what they are looking for.
Now, Barrister, interestingly, this is a conversation that some quarters have also said that the U.S. coming into this particular mineral for security deal looks a bit shady because, as it stands, the U.S. is not talking to the fact that they are going to stamp out the M23 rebels totally. They're only interested in the mineral resources. Are you of the opinion that it is just what this deal is going to give to the U.S. that is their concern, not the security in total?
Exactly. That's where I was going before. Look, anywhere U.S. is going into, fight or whatever, no, is to exploit. Because I was thinking that if they don't have ulterior motive, they would have helped this country to stabilize. I don't know what the US and other international organizations are doing. When rebel group will now subject a country to submission, who is telling you now that this thing will not continue, even with the mineral resources being frittered away? They will just be doing their business while the war is still raging in that country. That's the truth. They will be taking away the resources of that country, while the M23 rebel will still be fighting the country.
But Barrister, interestingly, there are concerns about the economy of that country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, on the path that because of this insecurity in that country, the economy has not gained any progress at all. Now, with this kind of deal, Barrister, is there the hope, or some quarters have also said that this peace deal is fair enough to stop both the killing and all of the instability of economy?
It's like jumping from frying pan into fire. It's like jumping from frying pan into fire.
How do you mean, Barrister?
The resources of that country, is that not what they are supposed to use and develop the country?
Right.
Good. Now you are frittering it away. You are taking it away willy-nilly from both fronts. Kigali is there, sucking the country. America is there, sucking the country, plus other criminal elements. So, what is the peace deal here? The country will plunge more into what? Economic doldrum. They are not going to make any headway because what they are supposed to use to develop the country is being taken away. So where will the development come from? Where? That is the question here. Where did the development come from?
Barrister, in the quest for lasting peace, is it worth throwing, like you mentioned, throwing their mineral resources away to a certain level that might just help them get relative peace
there is no
for the lives that have been lost so far?
There is no guarantee that peace will be restored. David, I am telling you, America is interested in that mineral resources. That is just the simple truth. Okay, in the peace deal, was there any agreement that this M23 rebel will be stamped out? No, is there something like that? I didn't see it.
But rather there should be a conversation for signing of a peace deal between the M23 rebels, of course as backed by Rwanda, and the DR Congo. Mm-hmm. Isn't that granting these rebels more strength?
Exactly.
To have more voice in that country?
Exactly. Because initially, this criminal called Paul Kagame denied that he had no hand in what is going on in DR Congo. Is that not true? How come? How come now that he's making a mineral for peace deal with DR Congo? How come? He claimed he did not know anything about what M23 rebels are doing, no? That he's not the sponsor and all that. He lied to the international community. Now his lies have been exposed.
And sanctions have been imposed on him.
Yes, sanctions have been, but to what extent? To what extent? I was thinking that the Western powers and every other country would have made that sanction to bite harder. Bite harder. So that you will not have the temerity to start making this deal with DR Congo. A country you have already plundered with your rebel, you are now going into peace deal with them to continue to make their mineral resources. Is that not greed? Is there not a call for war? Because you entered into that country with rebellious group that you are backing. And they are backing them with the mineral resources from the same country. Because where else are they getting money to sponsor these people? Is it not from the same DR Congo?
Right. Well, but you did say something a couple of minutes ago. You said that country, you're talking about the DR Congo, should look inward. How much of the inwardness should the country be looking at?
Good. They should use their mineral resources, they should use their money, employ mercenaries to face this rebel group. Instead of all these deals from different plunderers. Because that's what they are. They came to plunder DR Congo. That country should employ mercenaries from all over the world. give them a marching order to flush out this rebel group so that they can be free. Because what these people are come to do is to give temporary relief to the country. After which they will continue with their rebel groups. So I don't think they should continue with this agreement.
So
seriously.
Having to employ machineries to stamp out this insecurity seems like the way to go.
That's the best way, so that they can be free and be free indeed.
Isn't that kind of risky, Barrister, when you employ such machineries and in the end maybe they give you what you want but still want even more?
No, that's the job of mercenaries now. I mean, it's a deal. They are calling a workman to come and work for you. You mean after working, he will take over your house or what? How would that be possible? They have a responsibility. Even those people like the Warner brothers and all that.
Right.
They have discipline. I've not heard that they took over any country after helping them out. Or the ones in South Africa. What do they call it? Businessmen, or what do they call them? And those ones, they are there for business, not for, they don't have time for political whatever.
All right, Barrister, let's look at the fact that the DR Congo has complained severally of Rwanda practically smuggling out tens of millions of dollars of mineral resources out of that country illegally. And again, it's looking more like the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels seem to have more upper hand against the military of DR Congo.
Exactly.
Isn't that questionable that a country as huge as DR Congo does not have the machinery enough to stamp out rebels?
These rebel groups have weakened the country. Not just this rebel group. There are other non-state actors
who are also involved.
Who are also involved in criminal activities in that country. As of today, over 120 militia groups are in DR Congo. You can imagine. 120, all of them because of the mineral resources in that country. And because the state is too weak to control all these groups, they are having a field day. Nobody talking of the permanent peace in that country. No. That mineral resource is what they are all after. All of them.
Well, Barrister, let's look at the place of the African Union in all of this. This is a union that is supposed to house all of the nations under Africa. What do you think can be done right on the part of the African Union to help, in the least, secure a country with such rich mineral resources?
You see, because of the Berlin Conference of 1885, whereby Africa was partitioned and taken away by different Western groups, Western nations.
Yeah.
It will be difficult for AU to act in one voice. Very difficult. They are just there on paper. They heard that EU, we are coming together. They now form their own. AU, EU, AU, EU. Did they have the same power? Did they have the same voice? Did they have the same agenda? The answer is no. The major problem is that those of them in Africa are not speaking with the same language. You have Portuguese here. You have Spaniards here.
Right.
You have French. You have Americans. You have other minor. You have what's it called? Belgium. In that Rwanda. So with all these power blocks having vassal states in Africa, please, how can they speak with the same voice? It's not possible. If they are united now, are they going to be united against their colonial masters whose interests are in DR Congo? Because their interest is there. That's the truth. So they are just there like a toothless bulldog.
Quite unfortunate, Barrister. So as it stands, African Union cannot in any way rescue the DR
They
Congo.
can't. They don't even have a standby force. They can't. Seriously. Even if they have, they can't fund it. It's a huge organization that requires at least 200,000 standing army. Who will fund that kind of force? Who? 200,000. So that at the snap of a finger, you will deploy them to crisis area. They will take care of the incident and then retreat into their enclave. You don't have such a thing in Africa. Where will you house them? Eh? And you can't even call African country to donate their soldiers. How many will do that with the funding involved?
I was going to ask you that, Barrister. Why wouldn't African countries donate soldiers for such a mission?
Again, funding and then colonial interests will not allow that. Funding and colonial interests will not allow that. It's as simple as that.
Wow. Quite unfortunate, Barrister. Well, Barrister, let's get to another conversation. The African Development Bank is, at this point, trying to get a new president. Of course, our own Nigerian Akinwumi Adesina was the president at the time, but he's leaving office. Is there a possibility that he might get re-elected?
No, he has served 2 terms.
So, practically after that, he's gone.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the people who most likely are going to get into that office. Is there the possibility, because there has been several conversations around the fact that the U.S. is not practically wanting to give their fund to the AFDB anymore. And of course, as it stands, they are seeking to get in someone who would maybe, just maybe, talk the new president of the U.S. into funding the AFDB.
The racist president meant for Africans.
Right.
Majority vote and international clout and opinion. He got the job, just like Okonjo-Iweala. So Donald Trump is not interested in your Africa. Anything in Africa. That's why I call him a racist. Everywhere he wants America to be in control. Everywhere in the world, everywhere. And that's not going to happen.
You think it's not going to happen, Barrister?
Sorry?
You think it's not going to happen?
No, it will not. Like this ADB now, he will not have his way. He won't. He's Africa now. He's African. And I know Nigeria will not allow. He tried that game before, it didn't work. And I'm sure it will not work again.
That's we definitely...
And he cannot bring an American to control the place.
Right.
I think we don't have hands here.
All right, Barrister, let's get to another conversation. Ghana shuts down embassy in Washington over an alleged scandal that did happen on their platforms, where a young man did some kind of a cloning of the website to redirect people to paying as high as $60 per applicant in that particular country. They shut down the embassy because of these particular situation. Some persons have said this is a major move and a plus for the Mahama government. You think that is also a plus?
It's a plus, yeah. It's a plus because it has been going on before this man came into office.
5 years precisely.
Good. It has been going on. That means, yes, this man meant business. I thank God for people like, look at 5 years that this guy has been making a foreign Ghanaian living abroad. Good. Similar thing happened here some time ago in one of our embassies, where the ambassador was equally into this kind of business. But it was covered up. When the thing blew open, how much they were paying for passports. It was covered up. It happened here. That's the difference between Ghana and Nigeria. One is willing to fight corruption, the other one is not willing. Out of tribal and ethnic and religious sentiments. That's why Nigeria is not moving forward. Are you telling me that with what this man has done in Ghana, it has not helped to deepen the fight against corruption? It has. Even other people now will be wary.
Right.
They will be very careful. In fact, if they are into it, other embassies all over the world that belong to Ghana, all of them will hear what happened and they will do what? They will stop any illegal activity they are doing.
In fact, Barrister, the IT department of that embassy have been dissolved and all locally recruited staff suspended.
Good.
Every one of them is going to go through a particular investigation, plus the forensic audit that the president has ordered for.
So that they will know how much that this guy have made for himself and all those collaborators, because he couldn't have been acting alone. It's not possible. He couldn't. He couldn't have been acting alone. There are both local and foreign collaborators in this deal. You know, for the thing to have lasted this long, that means it's like a cabal. It was a close-knit thing. Now the whole place has been, the whole thing has been blown open. And now all the culprits will be brought to book. You are telling me with this kind of attack on corruption, that place will not be cleaned out. That's what we are talking about. The political will to do the needful. Imagine if the man had kept quiet, this thing would have continued in the next 10, 15 years. You can imagine.
And just like you mentioned, Barrister, the collaborators of this particular scheme have been on for a while. Interestingly, this particular situation and case have been referred to the Attorney General of the country. And you possibly think that this would maybe give applause to the Mahama government in Ghana?
It's already getting applause, both within and outside Ghana. Serious applause, both within and outside. Are you telling me that the international press have not gotten wind of it? They are making a feast out of it.
Do you think that they've even shut down the embassy, Barrister?
I mean, it's news on its own. It's news because they'll be asking what happened. What happened? An entire embassy shut down. It's a big news where this thing happened. I'm not joking. And the press there are feasting on it. And who is taking the credit now? Is it not the president of Ghana?
Well, Barrister, there is a conversation around the president of Ghana who, of course, returned back into office for the second time. Some quarters have said that because he's coming in for the second time, it practically looks more like every single president who have been taken off the seat in their first term and found their way again are practically trying to do their best to making sure that the country works. Is this some reality that has dawned on these kind of men, or is this someone trying to write a new script of his political career?
Yes, we know when we say change, people can change. If you go and check from the time of history, evil men and corrupt men, they always do a retrospect. After, stepping back. When you step back, you now watch like a football spectator. The best player on earth is the spectator.
Right.
He's the one who knows how to play the ball because he's watching from outside the field. So when you're in that position, you now say, I would have done this, so I would have done this. So look at what these people are doing in office. Let me go and correct this. You understand? That's what happens. Most times, that's what happens.
All right, Barrister, because of our time, this is where we have to call it a day on the analysis segment of the African News this beautiful afternoon. We've been talking with Barrister Darlington Agumo, who is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst and, of course, a legal practitioner by law. Barrister, once again, thank you so very much for being here.
It's my pleasure, David.
Well, the rest of the African news will continue shortly, just after this quick break. Do stay with us.
Step into a world where stories unfold, secrets unravel, and dreams come alive. Every story has a legacy. Every legacy holds the power to inspire. A unique interview series that celebrates the lives of Nigeria's elder statesmen and women through their remarkable journeys in the military, diplomacy, public service, academia, medicine, and beyond. Conversation that transcends generations, offering guidance to youth leaders, diplomats, technocrats, and future change makers. We unveil the wisdom, resilience, and achievements that shapes our nation and the world. Join us every Sunday on Voice of the People Television. Reminiscence, legacies that leads the way, stories that lives on.
Everybody keep watching Voice of the People. All right? Love you all. Hello, sweetie. What's going on? My name is Kiki. Keep watching VOB TV. Thanks.
Hey guys, what's going on? Olumide Oru, the Fresh Prince of Lagos here, and this is VOP TV, guys.
Hello, guys. I want you to please keep on watching VOP TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hafiz Oyetoro. Please keep watching VOP TV.
Shout out to VOP TV.
Ever wonder what inspires your favorite gospel artists? Explore and discover the rich heritage of continental gospel music and how this transformative journey has evolved and shaped cultures around the world. As we dig deep into archival treasures, feel the energy in our praise jam, Gospel Fusion on Voice of the People television. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. and be part of a transformative experience that uplifts and inspires. Join us as we explore the transformative power of gospel music and its ability to uplift spirits and unite hearts. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. on Voice of the People television. Gospel Fusion. Let's fuse our hearts in praise and joy.
Glad to have you back. It is still the African news right here on Voice of the People television. Now to more stories. Egypt's ambassador to Lebanon, Alaa Moussar, has met with Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam at the Grand Sahel to discuss preparations for Salam's upcoming official visit to Cairo in the first week of July. Ambassador Moussar told newsmen that talks during the meeting also focused on arrangements for the higher joint committee between Lebanon and Egypt. He emphasized a shared desire by both countries to make the round of the committee distinct from previous ones to ensure that agreements and memoranda signed are practical and directly addressing the needs of both countries. Moving on, Egypt has received the second storage and regasification unit at Alexandria Port as part of efforts to secure natural gas supplies for power generation during peak summer demand. In a statement, Egypt's Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources noted that the vessel, named Energos Power and leased from United States energy firm New Fortress, arrived from Germany with a storage capacity of 174,000 cubic meters of liquefied natural gas. The ministry said it will transform imported LNG into a gaseous form of distribution through Egypt's national grid. According to the minister, Karim Badawi, the move is part of the country's plan to secure natural gas supplies for power plants and maintain electricity grid stability during the summer. Badawi said the deal followed negotiations with Germany to lease the FSRU for operations in Egypt. Moving on, containers from a Liberian cargo ship that sank off India's Kerala coast have started washing ashore, while the oil spill spreading from the vessel has prompted authorities to issue high alerts along the state's coastline, officials have said. According to authorities, some containers have been found along the coast of southern Kollam and coastal Alapuzha districts. In the wake of the sinking of the ship off the Kerala coast, a high-level meeting was convened by Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan to assess the situation. An advisory has been issued urging coastal residents and fishermen to remain vigilant. Authorities said that so far 9 containers have washed ashore, and an advisory has been reiterated for coastal residents and fishermen to remain alert, according to a statement by the Chief Minister's office. Russian Su-57E fifth generation multi-role fighter jets and will begin operating the aircraft in 2025. Algerian pilots are undergoing training in Russia in preparation for operational use. The initial batch is expected to consist of 6 units, with deliveries anticipated by the end of 2025. The transaction was previously disclosed at the Airshow China 2024 and later reiterated by its director Alexandra Mikhev during Aero India 2025, confirming that a foreign customer would begin operating the aircraft in the country in the current year. The Su-57E is the export version of the Su-57, which was developed by Sukhoi within the United Aircraft Cooperation under the Russian Prospective Airborne Complex of Frontline Aviation Program. And from that story, let's go straight talking some business. President of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, said that development partners have committed $30 billion to boost food production in Africa over the next 5 years. Adesina spoke during the Food Security Summit in Dakar, Senegal, brought together by African leaders, Development Bank, and international partners, including the United States, the European Union, and Britain, to mobilize funding and political commitment. The major theme was that African countries need to boost their food production capacity rather than relying so heavily on imports that have left them vulnerable to price spikes and shortages. The United Nations estimated that the continent is facing its worst food crisis ever, with more than 1 in 5 Africans, with a record 278 million people facing hunger. According to experts, heavy debt burdens from the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine, which raised prices of fuel, grain, and edible oils, have also added to long-term causes of food insecurity, including climate change and conflicts, according to some experts. From that business story, let's wrap up the African news with some sports stories. Liverpool enjoyed a day of celebration as the curtain fell on their title-winning campaign, with Mohamed Salah's late equalizer ensuring they signed off with a draw against Crystal Palace at Anfield. The Egyptian forward's goal 6 minutes from time cemented his Golden Boot win and also equaled the Premier League goal involvement record, as it took his tally to 29 goals and 18 assists. And his lot side had secured the Premier League title with a 5-1 win against Tottenham on April the 27th, meaning they have been able to relax for the final few games of the campaign. With their opponents having won the FA Cup just over a week ago and with nothing at stake in their domestic campaign, it made for a day of unified celebration at Anfield. Still talking sports, veteran all-rounder Marizanne Kapp has been named in South Africa's White Ball squad for their tour of the West Indies next month after being rested for the 3 series in Sri Lanka in April to May. Kapp's last international appearance came in the home series against England in December. She has not been in action, at least in competitive cricket, since March at the Women's Premier League. The 35-year-old will look to get some match practice in the Caribbean ahead of the all-important Women's ODI World Cup in September and October. South Africa have also recalled Seamers Sumi Shekunuhi and Ayanda Lubi, who were not part of the Sri Lanka 3 series, which gives them 7 fast bowling options in the West Indies. The team has 5 spin bowling options, led by left-arm spinner Nonkululeko Mlamba, off-spinner Nondumiso Shangaze, experienced all-rounder Chloe Tryon, and Son Luz, and 20-year-old all-rounder Mian Smith, who debuts in ODIs in Sri Lanka and could get her maiden T21 cap in the Caribbean. The country will play 3 ODIs against Harleys, Matthews and Co. in Barbados on June the 11th, 14th and the 17th, followed by 3 T20s at the same venue on June the 20th, 22nd and the 23rd. And with that story, we've come to the end of African News right here on Voice of the People Television, as written and produced by Tony Chuku for Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.